How do you handle the Packers 49ers game at Lambeau Field on Sunday with so many injuries? How do you deploy the Giants pass catchers with a brand new quarterback, with their existing quarterback now in free agency, and much more? We've got a great show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The 15th place team in the Fantasy Pros Championship joining us tonight. It is Douglas Kaler, who is going to talk about the Tyrone Tracy issue, the Wan'Dale Robinson issue, and the massive Malik Neighbors issue going on with the Giants pass catching situation, plus much more. You're watching the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the YouTube, FFPC YouTube channel right now tonight. I'm Eric Balkman. Ferrell Elliott will join me shortly. Stick around. Your High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Hi, hello, and welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship at myffpc.com. I am Eric Balkman from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network, and of course, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. Follow me on Blue Sky and X at Eric Balkman, EricBalkman. I want to remind everybody that not only do we have a great show for you tonight, but the team building in the FFPC has not finished. You can join more teams in the FFPC by going to myffpc.com, myffpc.com, to play in the FFPC Weekly Challenge. There is no draft. There is no salary cap. You can play right now at myffpc.com with kickers and defenses or without kickers and defenses. You can watch them ride throughout the weekend's games. You do not have to worry about drafts. You do not have to worry about salary caps. Just don't sign up for two players on the same team. If you want Jalen Hurts, you can't have A.J. Brown. If you want Bo Nix, you can't have Javonte Williams. If you want Patrick Mahomes, you cannot have Travis Kelce. Enter for as little as $35. Win up to $2,500 at myffpc.com. You can enter in the 10-team, 30-team, and 100-team challenges over at the FFPC Weekly Challenge, Week 12 Challenge, myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. And I'll give you the Thanksgiving edition of everything that's happening next week, which is a little bit different than what we normally do on the FFPC YouTube channel. I want to welcome in the co-host with the most. You know him from the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. You know him from the Insta at jferrellelliott, from the Facebook at jferrellelliott. He is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. Please welcome in Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, welcome in tonight, man. Thanks so much for joining us
hey,
tonight.
buddy. I'll join you anywhere, Balky. You know, if there's a foxhole, I need you in it with me. You know, already Michael Kunsell has said hello to Balky and the guys, which I believe are his fellow contributors in the message center. And, you know, after committing an on-air commitment from him last year, he can't backpedal, or last week, he cannot backpedal from that. He's here. It's written in stone. Oh, there's a late edition there. He came in and said hi.
He said hi, but we got a bunch of people saying hi. We got Scott.
We got all kinds of.
We got Scott Christian. I'm gonna say hi to him right now. Good evening, Balky. Welcome to Week 12. I assume he doesn't even say hi to you anymore because it goes without saying.
I talked to him this week. Yeah.
There you go.
Right,
and
where's the pig?
I got it right here. Oinker says hello.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And he'll probably be making a second appearance tonight as well. And then Tom Smith, our resident Dolphins fan. Nice way to start Friday night. Talking football with Balky and Ferrell. Cheers, fellas. We appreciate that. I think that it never gets old, and especially this time of the year, Ferrell, depending upon how your teams are, depending upon how my teams are, doesn't really matter, because this is the time that you want to be playing fantasy football. This is the time you want to be locked into everything. We got KFFSC and FFPC playoffs coming up right now. This is a wonderful time to be a fantasy football fan.
Oh, no kidding, man. This is the best time of the year. And I had such a dreadful weekend in week 11. I was so elevated for Thursday to get here. It gave me a bit of a feeling, that's what fantasy football is all about, getting as close to the game as you can. It gives me the greatest feeling of the players when they have a bad game, they just cannot wait to get to the next game. And that's exactly how I feel. How'd you enjoy last night, Balky? Wasn't that a trip?
Yeah, no, I think the thing that was fun for me was, well, not fun, but the thing that was exciting for me is I had Joe Burrow on bye in a lot of KFFSC leagues, and I had to scramble. Not only, and we'll get into the Brock Purdy stuff in a little bit here, but I had to scramble to figure out, okay, am I starting Jameis Winston? Am I going to get Russell Wilson, on board for my KFFSC teams that have reached the playoffs in the KFFSC main event? What am I going to do here? And I had Winston going in one league, and as the night went on, I knew Winston was capable of turning up a good night. And he got the rushing touchdown. He threw the 2-point conversion to David Njoku. But I don't know. And we were talking about this before the show. When you get that snow and the December aspect of fantasy football going last night, I was charged up. And I loved watching the game last night, even though it wasn't the greatest for fantasy football. I had a lot of fun watching that game on Prime Video last night.
It was great if you had Chubb.
And that's what ticked me off is I had Chubb in a few leagues, but I benched him in most of my leagues, right? And we could, I'll tell you what, let's lead off the show and talking about Nick Chubb tonight, because I was of the opinion, Ferrell, I had him in a few dynasty leagues, I had him in a few redraft leagues, but I knew what Nick Chubb was capable of going into the 2024 season. He outplayed what I thought he was capable of last night, and anything I get from him going forward is gravy. It was great seeing what Chubb was able to do. I just feel like we are in the twilight of Chubb's career, and I didn't feel bad benching him in the leagues I did, because I knew what was realistic for him over the last couple of weeks. And I was upset to a certain point last night, but I also knew that by and large, we are not going to see weeks like this from Nick Chubb going forward.
I agree with you. And, if you had a weather report and could see if the snow was filling up the field at kickoff, you probably would have put him in your lineup, because you would have been able to understand that, good big running backs know where they're running. As somebody's talked about Jerry Jeudy, it's the same situation. When your offensive players in the snow have such an advantage, because they're not slipping around. They know where they're going. And defenders are sliding all over the place and getting – it's a tough game. The quarterback's got to grip the ball, and quarterback's got to deliver the ball, which is there's a whole lot of elements at play in the elements. So it was apparently Jameis Winston loves the snow.
That was his first game that he started ever under 40 degrees at kickoff, and God bless him, because he turned out a pretty good performance. And again. I didn't want to start Jameis Winston in my KFFSC leagues, but I had to in a few of them. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with what he performed with last night from a fantasy football. Like, the thing is, like, Ferrell, when you look at what happened last night, at halftime, you were thrilled with, okay, this is shaping up to be a Najee Harris game. This is shaping up to be a Nick Chubb game. And then by the end of the night, you're like, oh my God, Jameis Winston. Oh my God, David Njoku. And it was great to see what they did. However, I don't know. It's one of those games where I'm not going to get super upset. I'm not going to get super thrilled with the outcome. And if that's what I got from Jameis Winston, that's what I got from Jameis Winston. I'm not upset or super thrilled with it.
Old friend and fantasy competitor John Anderson was there, as he is at every Brown game.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a big Browns guy, right?
He texted me, covered in snow, and just it was the greatest moment of the year for John.
Well, good on him. We have a bunch of stuff to get to tonight. By the way, if you have not signed up for the weekly challenge with the FFPC, go to myffpc.com and sign up for the weekly challenge. No draft, no salary cap. Choose 10 or 12 players if you want to play with kickers and defenses or without. You can watch them ride through the weekend's games. You just can't double up on players. If you want Patrick Mahomes, you can't have Travis Kelce. If you want Jalen Hurts, you can't have A.J. Brown. If you want Caleb Williams, you can't have Rome Odunze, that kind of thing. You can register for as little as $35, win up to $2,500 now at myffpc.com. 10, 30, or 100 team challenges going on right now. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, and get notified each and every time we go live. Ferrell, let's kick things off with Tampa Bay. Mike Evans is going to play in Week 12 against the Giants, according to Adam Schefter from ESPN. Mike Evans missed the last 3 games for Tampa. He had a hamstring injury that he suffered back in Week 7. Todd Bowles, when he was asked in the presser this week about Mike Evans and how much he's going to play, quote, he's going to play as long as he's healthy and fresh, quote, they'll get him out when they have to. Now, Evans in Thursday and Friday's practice today was a full participant. This is more than a month removed before he got hurt with that hamstring injury. And you know how soft tissue injuries tend to linger with running backs and wide receivers. Mike Evans is a guy that I own in probably, 4 dynasty and redraft teams. I am starting him in all of them. I understand the aspect of maybe he is not going to go full bore this week. I don't care. I know that he's going to be out there. I know that the Buccaneers are going to be passing a lot. I am starting Mike Evans in every single league. Am I wrong? Should I have any trepidation about starting Mike Evans in all my leagues this week?
Absolutely not, Balky. Last time that he returned from injury, and I believe it was the same or at least a similar injury, he was stellar in his game back. I don't think the team has rushed him back. I think he's ready to play, and Mike Evans just goes to the top of the heap. You got to play your guys that you really believe in, and I always believe in Mike Evans. If he's on my roster, he's on the field.
Mike Evans is a guy that's going to be going for me. He's a guy that's going to be going for Ferrell. Now, let's get into the Eagles because this is an interesting situation here with Devontae Williams not expected to go. In fact, Ferrell, did he not get ruled out earlier today? I have not checked out.
I believe that's true, and
okay.
Permar says that the Niners are without him. I don't know if that's Permar official or just Permar talking, but I'll follow Permar.
No, well, we can talk about Trent. Well, let's stay on the Packers Niners.
Terry confirms it. John Terry confirms.
Okay, there you go. JT confirms it. He gets the Aunt Jemima AJ stamp of approval. Trent Williams is questionable officially that I'm seeing right now against the Packers. He was a game time call last week. He played through the Niners game last week. This is interesting because. Well, I don't know, Ferrell. You and I talked about this off air prior to us going on air with the HSFF hour tonight. Where do you stand on the Niners? Because Brock Purdy is out. Trent Williams is a game time decision. Nick Bosa is out. You know that McCaffrey and George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, they're all going to be out there. Where do you stand on starting Niners this week against a Packers defense that is going to be down 2 of their biggest playmakers in Jair Alexander and Edgerrin Cooper?
It's good that you let us know about the Packers and their situation. I break them down individually. If you have McCaffrey, he's now healthy and you played him and he's done well. Are you really going to fade him?
You have to play him. You have to play him, in my opinion.
Are you going to put Jennings on the bench after that performance that he's had in the last 2 weeks? You're not going to do that. We've got a backup quarterback here that's coming in that hasn't started a game in a while, but he has played in a starting role before and he's contributed. I think when you have this kind of talent around you, I'm not really interested or concerned in who the quarterback is. I believe this team can get him ready. And you believe in the organizational structure of the 49ers, and it's a positive thing. Do you think you want to set Deebo Samuel? He didn't score well for you last week, but there's a guy that has the potential to have a 30 or 40-point game against anyone. So you've got to play these players.
That is the question. Okay, the question for me is not Kittle. You're playing Kittle. You're playing Jennings. You're playing McCaffrey. It's weird to say this, but the question is for that Niners-Packers game, 4:25 start at Lambeau Field on Sunday, are you playing Deebo Samuel? That is where the confusion comes in with Brandon Allen being the starting quarterback. I feel somewhat, not totally, but somewhat comfortable breaking ties against Deebo Samuel this week. I have to play Jennings. I have to play Kittle. I have to play McCaffrey, regardless of the quarter. Ferrell, you could be quarterbacking the Niners this weekend, and I would be playing all those guys. But when it comes down to Deebo Samuel, that is the question I have. Do I play him or not? And honestly, I'm looking for other options. Like I said, I'm breaking ties against Deebo Samuel this weekend.
And you may have, especially if you went heavy tight end in FFPC format, and with Kittle's situation, you might want to look aside from that. You may have receivers that stand to really have a great weekend that you can make a case for playing in front of Samuel. But you certainly don't want to get past a number one or very highly rated number two receiver to put Samuel on the bench. And, don't think long about it, because when you think wrong,
think long, think wrong. That's what it is. Paralysis by analysis. Yeah.
Wrong and long.
And I don't want to make it seem like, Deebo Samuel is a must sit. I understand there's 6 teams on bye this week, and you're probably starting him in most of your leagues. But I did notice, Ferrell, when I was looking at my Kentucky leagues this week, I do have the luxury of sitting some talented guys, just the way it worked out. And
you're a man of luxury, Balky. Well, everybody knows that about you.
If I can sit Samuel, I will. It's tough to do it.
Now, Permar is making commentary again, and I would like you to look up something while I talk about it.
Sure, go ahead.
Would you try to find when the last time Allen started at quarterback? Because Permar has now checked in and says Allen is worse than Rush. He's talking about our Cooper Rush of the Dallas Cowboys. And God bless Cooper Rush. Wonderful for fantasy football if he had thrown some touchdowns last week. Over 50 attempts, 300 and something yards. He helped all the Cowboys have some type of relevant fantasy contribution. I miss my tight end, Ferguson. But my point is, when's Allen last up?
Allen has not thrown a pass in the NFL since 2022. He 3 for 3 in a game for the Bengals back in 2022.
Yeah. And when's his last start?
22 yards. That's a great
that's
question.
Like 2019 or something.
It could be. I have to go deeper into that.
But it's been a while so Permar says Allen is worse than Rush. Permar, you don't know that. You haven't seen any Allen in so long.
No, I would agree with Permar. I think Allen is worse than Rush.
Yeah, maybe he is. But it doesn't matter, because actually there are quarterbacks that will start this weekend that Allen will likely outscore. And so, I'm a big believer in next man up football. I really do believe that. And in some organizations, the year is slipping away. New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys, the season is slipping away. Yeah. But 49ers are built to win. And, I think they'll come to Green Bay and compete. Whether or not they get out of there with a win is still debatable, but that's going to be one of the more intriguing games to watch. And, it's always great to root for the underdog. Second string quarterback is usually the most popular player on the team. We'll see if that's the case with the New York Giants this week.
We will indeed. This will be the first time in 36 regular season games that the Niners will be the underdog in a regular season NFL game. The Niners expected to be without, as we talked about, expected to be without Brock Purdy, maybe without Trent Williams, definitely without Nick Bosa as well. The Packers are expected to be without Jair Alexander and Edgerrin Cooper, two of their big time playmakers on the defense. So this opens the door for McCaffrey. It opens the door for Kittle. Will that door open up enough where the Niners can squeeze out a win with Brandon Allen? I'm not sure. And I would be reserved in my endorsement for anybody other than Jennings or McCaffrey on this offense this week. Kittle probably as well, because Kittle's going to be all right against this Packers defense. But after that, I don't expect anything. Let's go to Philadelphia. Devontae Smith has been ruled out, Ferrell, by the Eagles with a
Wow.
hamstring injury against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Devontae Smith has been dealing with this hamstring injury for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that.
He's been fantasy disaster definitely the last 2 weeks.
It's been tough. He's active, so you play him, but you've been underwhelmed. So now you have A.J. Brown. Now you have Dallas Goedert. Now you have Saquon Barkley. There's a lot to love about the Eagles offense this week outside of those three mainstays that I mentioned, Goddard, Barkley, A.J. Brown. Are you starting anybody on the Eagles? Is there anything like Jahan Dotson or any of these other receivers for the Eagles? Is there anything there with Devontae Smith out this week, Ferrell?
No, I don't think so. I just think you double down on your premium players, and you also look to Goddard, who played very well as he returned last weekend. This is a team that's on a 6-game winning streak. They don't have to do much different to win, and they leaned last week on Barkley. Not only did he rush for 140 yards, he caught passes, one a very long one. I think Hurts is really close to double-digit touchdowns in the last 5 or 6 games. As my old pal Rich Bates says, "Fly, Eagles, fly."
Here's an interesting one, and I know we're running late. I want to get to the lava lovers here in Doug in just a little bit, but confirming start from Permar 99, Tavian Sanders over Tucker Kraft. I know that the 49ers with Fred Warner do not give up a whole lot of yardage, fantasy points with the tight end, but Ferrell, God, if I have Tucker Kraft on my team and I also have Jatavian Sanders, I know that my expectations are low with Tucker Kraft. I don't know if I am a strong enough man to still start Jatavian Sanders over Tucker Kraft this week. How do you fall in on this with Sanders taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 12?
Jatavian Sanders caught a touchdown pass on a broken play last week where he was wide open in the end zone. Good for him. He's a coming player. I think a good dynasty pickup. You told us more about Kraft than I ever thought would be right. And so I think that you are the expert on that, and I defer to you, and I will follow you in that situation. But yes, I was in a similar situation as I had to start Freiermuth last night, and this was one of his better efforts for the year. And I was very fortunate to get the 10 or 12 points out of him. So I think that's what you're looking for on a when you're challenged at tight end, and you would have to be pretty challenged to start Sanders. You love the athlete.
Yeah.
So there's a chance. There's a chance in a chaser game against the Kansas City Chiefs that he could do something.
I am a conservative Packers fan. I'm going to be at the game on Sunday, so I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see it. But I will say this. There has been times where I have underestimated what certain Packers pass catchers can do. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, everybody. So I will reluctantly say that Tucker Kraft is still the start, even though tight ends against the Niners have been bad this year. I'm still going to play Tucker Kraft over Jatavian Sanders this week. Permar, listen, if there's one thing we know about Permar 99, he knows he's forgotten more about fantasy football than I will ever know.
He's forgotten ever being wrong about anything. That's one of the things I love about him.
Right. Hey.
He thinks
short memory. Short memory. That's what you got to have in fantasy football.
I've invited him to come to Kentucky because when he does, we'll disabuse him of that notion that he's never been wrong on a regular 20-round activity. But he'll also do well wherever he plays.
Michael Kinzel says, how much is Tommy Tremble going to cut into Jatavian Sanders' targets? I don't know.
I don't think any, Michael, because I don't think Sanders is ever targeted. I think he's the third. I think the tight end in this offense is the third or fourth option. Yeah. I don't think their numbers ever call.
Yeah, and Tom Smith checking in too, our resident Dolphins fan. Kraft has many catches as I did last week, which is true. And quite frankly, he could have a bagel again this week. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't feel great about Tucker Kraft. I don't feel great about Jatavian Sanders this week. So I think
I don't feel great about anybody second guessing Balky.
Okay, well, thank you, Ferrell. I appreciate that. However, there's one guy you'd never want 2-second guess.
No.
And he is the guy that is that I want to bring up on the show tonight. He is a guy that after 11 weeks of play, heading into week 12 here with 6 teams on bye, it is a player that stands in 15th place overall in the FantasyPros Championship, a contest that will pay out a $1 million grand prize. You follow him on the X at Lava Lovers, LAVA Lovers, LAVA Lovers. Let's welcome him on the show tonight so he can dispense his knowledge on everything going on in week 12 in the FFPC. It is Douglas Kahn. Doug, welcome in tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for
that is
having
a fantastic background tonight,
you like
man.
That?
Yeah,
COVID,
it's good.
My wife did it. Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Know what it reminds me of? And Ferrell, I don't know if you ever watched this show. It reminds me of Lost, like that 1970s Dharma Initiative theme.
Partridge Family, right?
Oh, Partridge Family. That's better. That's better. I like that too.
It's straight out of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, that's another good one. That's another good
movie.
One.
Great. Hey, dude, I love your beard. Hold on. Does everyone just talk about your awesome beard? Oh,
some
my
people,
God.
Some people.
Oh, my God. No way could I do that. Nice, man. Nice job.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that so much. So I have so many questions before we get into the fantasy football portion of the show. Lava Lovers. Yeah. What does that come from? Because that's your nickname.
My wife is a glass blower.
And
we went to Hawaii, and back in AOL, back then we did Lava Lovers. Oh, let's do Lava Lovers. And it just sort of stuck.
And at Lava Lovers on X as well, right?
Yes.
Where we can follow you. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So you're heading into week 12 here, 15th place overall in the FantasyPros Championship.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, I've been up there with the KFFSC before. But what is it like being that close to $1 million grand prize in the FantasyPros Championship?
I'm trying to be very casual about it and act like I've been there before, but it's nerve-wracking. I'm just trying to, I had to sub out Josh Allen last night, and I picked Wilson. I got 17.5. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it, so that kind of a thing. I'm like, I didn't start Tillman. I was psyched not to start Tillman. I had the Pittsburgh D, so I said no.
There was and Ferrell, I brought this up to you before. Doug doesn't know this, but my kid is playing he's 11 years old. This is his first year playing fantasy football. And he was so jacked when I was making him breakfast this morning before I put him off to school, because he was going up against Cedric Tillman and Najee Harris in his league. He didn't have anybody going on Thursday night. And he said, Dad, how did we do? I said, we're looking good because Harris didn't do much and Tillman got a concussion early in the game. So we're looking good there.
Yeah.
Did you send that kid to bed before the close of the game?
I kept him up until the fourth quarter, Ferrell. And there's stuff going on with his mother last night, my wife there. And I kept him up as long as I could, and I could see him fading. I'm like, all right, son, you got to go to bed, and we'll talk about this tomorrow.
Oh, he was fading.
He was fading.
Unlike his father, he's not a late nighter.
Well, and that's the thing, and Doug, you saw this last night. How cool was it to see on Thursday Night Football a normal game as it kicked off, and then we get into the second half, and it is flurries, it's snow,
everywhere.
It was so good, so good.
It was glorious, and the snow in the beards everywhere. And
yes,
it was great. Being a Northern California guy, I'm like, okay, I'm happy I'm not in that snow. Anyway.
Well, so Northern California. So this is good. I want to ask you, when you're not hanging around the top of the FantasyPros Championship leaderboard, what are you doing in Northern California?
I'm a sales rep. I drive around Northern California selling eyewear.
Eyewear?
I sell glasses. Yeah, it's really fun. I go to optometrists. It's really fun.
So glasses,
I listen to,
glasses, sunglasses, everything?
Everything. Yeah,
okay.
Both normal glasses and sunglasses, but mostly normal. It's fun. Yeah.
Glass is important to this family.
And
with the advent of all the fashion frames, I bet you're having a boom for.
It's a lot of fun.
So I'm glad that you have the corrective vision properly, because you're going to need some to answer this question about the New York Giants. Because
I love the Giants.
I have some Wan'Dale Robinson. I did not get on the Tyrone Tracy train, and I don't know if it would have helped me or not, but God forbid, it's the second coming of Tommy DeVito. And I made a statement throughout this show and earlier tonight in the show. The second string quarterback is always the most loved player on the team. However, in these circumstances, there seems to be a lot of unrest about the way that Daniel Jones was handled. If you handle your highly paid quarterback that way on your New York Giants football team, the rest of the guys are going to look around the locker room and say, well, how are they going to treat us? They get tired of us. So I can't imagine what's going on with this team. And I'm really very, very cautious. We've talked about fading Niners. I'm really cautious about playing any of my Giants. What are you thinking about, particularly with Wan'Dale Robinson, the pride of the University of Kentucky, and our Tyrone Tracy?
Well, I'm a big Tyrone Tracy owner. I have him on a lot of FFPC teams. I got lucky and I drafted him a lot. I'm a big Giants fan. They're my number one team, actually. And I think the Giants are going to do really well. And Tommy DeVito is going to score a touchdown by running, and he's going to pass one. Okay. And Tyrone Tracy, yeah, they're going to score at least 21 points, and they're going to play him tough. They're going to play Tampa Bay tough. So I think the Giants are going to surprise some people. Yeah. What about? And I think Drew Lock's going to get in too. By the way, just for the record. I think
this week,
yep.
Or the remainder this week. Holy cow. Okay. So this is an anti-endorsement for Tommy DeVito in Superflex leagues, right? If you think Drew Lock is playing this week, you want to start DeVito in a
No, I wouldn't start DeVito, but I like him. He's going to score, but they're going to have to give Lock a shot, right? They're going to have to give him some plays is my thought.
Yeah, I would think. I would think,
Yeah, so that's my thought process.
And I'm trying to find it. Okay, so the Giants are hosting the Buccaneers this week. Now, this is interesting. We talked about Robinson and Tracy, but Douglas, let me ask you about Malik Neighbors, because the latest scuttlebutt we got from Jordan Renan, who covers the Giants for ESPN, said that Neighbors intends to play with his groin injury against the Buccaneers. He's questionable. He did not practice today.
Nope.
Neighbors said that the groin injury he's dealing with is something that he's been dealing with since LSU, his college days, and he's just been playing through it since then. I, as a Neighbors owner in a couple of leagues here this week, I do have some concerns about playing Neighbors this week, not only because of the injury, but because of the new quarterback. It's a 1:00 kickoff game on Sunday, so we'll know by about 11:30 what's going on with Neighbors. If he is active, do you still play him? How much trepidation do you have with him? So it sounds like zero with you.
No, look, they're going to set up plays for him. They're going to throw him the ball. So they're going to have plays set up just for Neighbors. You have to play him. If you draft him, you have to play him. Now, you were talking about Deebo Samuel earlier.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know if I would play him either. He doesn't look right. Something's not – I'm with you on Deebo. Something's not right about him.
You watch the games.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of them.
I love it. I'm a red zone
guy. I love that when you say he doesn't look right, because you're exactly right. He's not moving like he always has. No. But, it's Balky, I lost track of us. Who's up with the question?
I want to talk about Trey Benson.
Who doesn't?
Just real quick. So we were talking about this, and I can't remember who I was talking. It was like within the last 2 weeks. And I said, has Trey Benson made the Arizona backfield an RBBC? And whoever I was talking to, whatever high-stakes player I was talking to, said, yeah, unequivocally, it is an RBBC right now going on with the Cardinals backfield. So when we look at the Cardinals this week, bear in mind, Douglas, 6 teams on a bye, and we have seen Trey Benson infiltrate James Conner's touches, both rushing and receiving so far. How good of a start is Benson this week as the Cardinals travel north to take on the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday afternoon?
Well, I like Benson. I think they have to play him. They have to keep Conner fresh, because the Cardinals are going to win the division. They're going to be in the playoffs. Come on. We all know that. So
we don't know it. We might think it, but we don't know it yet.
McBride, I wish I drafted McBride more. But getting Conner, they're gonna sit him a little, because Trey Benson's a young gun. He's got energy. I think they're going to keep playing him. He's going to score 10 points a game, if you ask me.
That's what even against Seattle this weekend too, right?
Yeah,
He's a double-digit guy.
I don't know what the over/under in that game is, but I assume it's in the high 40s?
I'm looking it up right now. So Arizona and Seattle right now, 47.5. And I feel like that's come down. I feel like,
and it's in Seattle, right?
Because it was at 49. It was it's in Seattle. I think that total. I'm with you, Douglas. I think that total goes over this week.
Yeah. Anyway,
I like that. You know, who's the Balky?
Yeah.
Who's the actor that Douglas reminds you of? Do people come to you and tell you, they say, hey, you make me think of?
I'm going to tell you this right now. One glance at Douglas. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3. Right?
Philip Seymour.
Maybe
I was thinking
Mission
somebody
Impossible.
with a little more handsome profile.
Thank you.
One of the gangsters from that Nucky Thompson movie, but I can't put my
Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, series. So I get, but you know,
like
also I can't
guy.
put. I mean, Will Levis doesn't even remind me of the quarterback known as Will Levis. He looks like he's changed his motion. He looks like he's doing a lot of things different. But recently, for fantasy purposes, he's been generating a 20-point quarterback. We got 6 teams on bye. Do you think about making a sneaky spot start? Well, in most of the leagues that I'm in the FFPC, he's available.
I can tell you this too, and before you answer, Douglas, I will tell you, Ferrell, I'll tell you this as well. I have Brock Purdy on a couple of teams where my only other quarterback is Joe Burrow, and I am going heavy on Will Levis on my KFFSC waivers on Saturday night to pick up Levis to start him this week, knowing that Purdy may or may not start against the Packers on Sunday afternoon, but it's a 4:25 start. I don't want to mess around with it.
So Douglas, don't break Balky's bubble. This is another University of Kentucky product as well. So your thoughts, Will Levis?
Will Levis, my thoughts is he's getting better the last 2 weeks. Like you said, he's been doing really well. He's got Ridley. The key to Will Levis to me is Pollard. Pollard's got to run. They got to set up play action. And that's the only way Levis is going to do well is Pollard. So Pollard's got to run for 75 yards, and then Levis will do well.
Who would you start, Levis or DeVito? Wow.
DeVito.
Oh, my goodness.
God, damn it. Okay.
That's wild.
I got to revise my bids.
That is wild.
Yeah.
That's the kind of evaluation you get from guy 15.
That game for the Titans and Texans in Houston, 1:00 start on Sunday, 40.5, just 40.5 on that game. The Texans are an 8-point favorite. Yeah, I may have to look at DeVito over Will Levis in
they're gonna set him up. The coach has to look good. He's gonna get fired, right?
Oh, we're back to talking about DeVito.
We're back to Dable.
Dable,
You know, he's about to get fired. He's got a lot of pressure on him. So I think Neighbors is going to catch one. Anyway, enough Giants. I could talk Giants all day.
No, well, let's talk Giants for a little bit, because I am of the opinion that Eberflus gets fired after this season in Chicago. Doug, you are of the opinion that Dable gets fired at the end of the season. Who else is getting fired in the NFL right now? Maybe not right now, but by the end of the season. Mike McCarthy. Is there somebody else?
That's easy. McCarthy is right?
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's hard. I instantly thought of Miami because they're so bad and they're so awful. But yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. That's a hard one because there's so
things
many
are a bit uncomfortable at another Florida location in Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's going to get fired. Peterson's going to get canned.
Okay, that was easy. That was a layup one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
I broke free, though.
Outside of that, I don't know if anybody. I like McDaniel's not getting fired. As much as Antonio Pierce. With my apologies, and Ferrell, and I'll bring up my Raiders chain right now because we're going to talk Raiders. As much as I respect your Raiders, I don't think Antonio Pierce probably should get fired. I don't think he will. No. So I think he's going to be in charge.
He was a great New York Giant.
He was great linebacker. Great linebacker.
Yeah,
outside of that, I don't know, guys. I don't know if anybody else gets fired. I think Canales
too many new
survives.
Ones. Yeah,
there's too many new ones. Yeah, Canales survives. I think who's the Colts? Steichen. He survives. Nobody else is getting fired besides the guys that we named tonight. Okay. Speaking of the Colts, Michael Pitt is he a must start this weekend for the Colts against the Lions? Bearing in mind that if you are a boundary receiver, an outside receiver going up against the Lions, things have not been great for you. In 2024, the Lions have been pretty good at shutting those types of receivers down. However, and this is why I don't want Ferrell talking about it, because I know how much he loves Pittman. Pittman has the opportunity to excel not only as a boundary receiver against the Lions this weekend, but I think it was last week he had like a half dozen or maybe a dozen snaps in the slot. So the Colts are moving him around. Doug, when you look at the Colts, because of how much they might have to throw to stay in this game against the Detroit Lions, does Michael Pittman need to be in your starting lineups this week?
No, I've benched him. I don't like Pittman. Sorry, Ferrell. I'm not a big. Again, we talked about Debo earlier about he doesn't look right. The first one I thought of was Pittman when I was thinking about the Colts.
It's tough to play with back pain. It really is.
And the other two receivers, Downs and
Mitchell
and Pierce.
Pierce.
Mitchell looks great too. So I think he's number 3 on the pecking order. And I benched him.
Ferrell, what about you with your teams this week? Are you still rocking with Pittman?
I'm going to have to in one place, but no. And, you really, really admire football players who play hurt. And it is really bad for fantasy football. And and you've got to juggle that. You say, oh, he's such a tough guy. He'll play through it. But I would rather play healthy players over players that are struggling. And unfortunately, Pittman, you add in the uncertainty of the quarterback who played better last week, but it's a week-to-week thing. I guess if I want to talk about another wide receiver who I absolutely love, and I got him on all my early teams, and I was essentially stealing him. And then when we got to Planet Hollywood, you could no longer steal him, so I didn't get him late. But that's Xavier Legette. I absolutely just really could feature this player doing what he's doing now and doing it over a whole season. He's got a late start, but I think he's a breakout candidate for this weekend. Thielen might be back. Who knows? We've already talked about the tight end. I think Legette's the number 1 receiver and number 1 force on this offense. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I did. Did you draft Legette a lot, or did you pick him up off waivers? So you drafted him like 15th round, and
when actually a little later, 17th, and he's on all my best ball teams. And then people grew tired and lost patience, and I scooped him up then.
Yeah, I have him on a few teams too. I like him. He's big. He's big and strong. You got to love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he talks great.
And Daniel Jones is going to Carolina. He's going to Carolina. He's going to Dallas.
That's a landing spot, is Carolina?
I don't know. Or Dallas. That's what I heard too. And I was like, oh, no.
I think everyone in the NFL is a potential landing spot.
Yeah.
Right? Jones. And, he has to be released, so he knows where he's going. He's got
a plan. Yeah.
He's definitely got somewhere lined up.
Yeah.
The Daniel Jones thing is so fascinating because I can't remember a time where a dude signed for the contract that he did with an NFL team and they somehow made it where they could release him, where it's not going to be a huge hit on their cap, where the player himself is agreeing to this deal or to this release where he can sign on with somebody else. I don't think it's going to be Dallas for what it's worth, Douglas, but I will say Carolina is interesting and we'll see.
He's from there. Didn't he go to Duke or Carolina?
He went to Duke. He went to
Duke. Right.
Yeah. And I will say this, and Ferrell, I've said this for years on this show. There are not 32 people on this planet that can play quarterback in the NFL.
Man, that's the truth.
There will be
may not be 20.
There may not be 20. There will be an avenue for Daniel Jones services as well. Okay, let's talk about this and keep it on the Carolina tip. So Jonathan Brooks, mother of God, he is going to make his debut this week, finally, after so many weeks. He tears his ACL in November last year for the University of Texas. He is the first running back drafted in the 2024 NFL draft. And now finally, he is going to make his debut as he has been taken off injured reserve. He's been activated. He's obviously going to affect Chuba Hubbard and his touches. I don't know how much. Like for me, and Douglas, I'll let you weigh in on this. I'm still playing Hubbard in all my leagues this week. But with Brooks, if you don't own Hubbard, if Brooks and you're struggling to find a guy, is Brooks a guy that could be flex worthy with your number 1 or number 2 flex in FFPC leagues this week, knowing his talent and knowing that he's finally going to get an opportunity to ply his wares with the Carolina Panthers in Week 12?
Well, before I answer that, I have to say he was probably one of my worst draft picks. Oh, he's going to play Week 5, if you remember correctly.
Right, yeah.
Oh, get Chuba, and then Week 5 he's going to play. Oh, I'm going to put him 4th on my running. What a bad draft pick he was. And now we have to wait till Week 12 for him to play, and I don't think he's a flex at all. I'm scared to play him. There's no way. You don't know what to expect. So I wouldn't play him at all. I have him, and I'm not playing him.
Douglas, is he cuttable?
Oh, no.
Like Blake Corum? Yeah. No, he's not cuttable. But Blake
Not
Corum
cuttable,
is.
okay.
You
Blake
wouldn't
Corum.
want to cut him and then watch him go out and be the Jonathan Brooks
Right.
Right,
you
right.
once
That's what
thought
I
he
mean.
was. That would
Right.
just add insult to yeah.
Right.
That's just
I don't know
bad.
if you guys drafted Blake Corum, but remember
No.
in August.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, so
Yeah,
here's the thing. I want to get into this a little bit here because I did draft Blake Corum in a few redraft leagues. I have him in some dynasty leagues. I'm obviously not cutting him in dynasty
yeah.
leagues,
You
but
can't.
he has been. I've been on the fence with Corum in redraft leagues. You're telling me that Corum is cuttable right now, Douglas? Tell me why.
He's not playing.
But
But
what if what if Kyron Williams goes down?
They've got that Rivers guy too, who they like, who's
Okay.
small too. I know.
So
I don't like him either.
This is what I want to get into.
I'm disappointed in Corum. So,
If
yeah.
Kyron Williams were to go down, you are of the opinion that Corum is not just this automatic start.
I don't think so. Do you? Do you guys think so?
I'm
don't
keeping
think
him
so.
on my roster because I think like he would be an
Me
automatic
too.
flex
and
at a
I've
minimum.
cut him in the last couple of weeks. I've cut him.
Okay.
And
All
I've told my brother to cut him too. Like, that's what I've learned. I mean,
When you
the one
tell
I
your
upset-
brother to cut him,
yeah,
you draw the bottom line under.
you know what?
That's
Yeah.
that's what we're learning about here from the Lava Lover. The actor Balky, and I may not be pronouncing it right. Bobby Cannavale.
Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, that's the actor.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
So
Yeah.
Lucky
Cannavale.
him. Lucky that guy. is
So
what
I remember
Yeah.
Bobby Cannavale for two roles. Number one, he was in I shouldn't say two roles. The role that rings true with me was he was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as oh God, he was the guy who married Jesus, the Paul Rudd.
He
Paul
didn't
Rudd,
marry
Ant-Man.
Jesus.
Hold on. I'm gonna get this. Paul Rudd became Ant-Man, right? And Paul Rudd had his character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe had some run-ins with the law, and his ex-wife ended up marrying a cop who arrested Paul Rudd's character. That was Bobby Cannavale. So I
Wow.
see the Bobby Cannavale here. I wish I could throw up a photo here, and I can't. I don't have the ability to. But there is some Bobby Cannavale here with Douglas.
The character's name was Jip, as I recall. And just like Jip, the Lava Lover, Douglas, he does not live in fear. And I don't think Kyron Williams. I think Kyron Williams might be indestructible. Now let me tell you, Denver Bronco running backs have not been indestructible. Although rising from the ashes was Javonte Williams a couple of weeks ago. Estime, if he gets enough work, and that's a big question mark with the head coach. And we all love the third down back, McLaughlin. So they come in and they play Las Vegas Sunday. If you've got Broncos running backs, you probably should start one of them against Las Vegas. Who's it going to be for you?
It's easy. So I think Coach Payton's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And he said, how do I motivate Javonte? How about I say the other guy's going to start? And look at what Javonte did last week. I sat Javonte listening to the darn coach, and I was wrong. I'm like, oh, my God, he outsmarted us. Javonte's going to have a big game. He's going to have a big game.
Yeah, I think
It's easy. It's like not even close.
I think we could go on and talk to the Broncos. The Broncos are coming into Las Vegas at a time when the quarterback's beginning to get it, and a lot of things are going wrong, mostly injury-wise for the Raiders. They're very thin at positions that they already didn't have depth at, both on offense and defense. I think it's a fantastic Broncos fantasy. Hey, there he is.
There he is. So I got the Bobby Cannavale image right. That's the best one. I think, Ferrell, what do you think? There's
one over here on the right is going to look like the lava lover when he comes to Kentucky and Jason Kahn starts buying him bourbon. That's what
this one right here.
The one previous, the one with the open collar and
okay. Hold on.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And like he's sweating in August, and he wish he had stayed in California. But
this is a good one right here. I like this.
That's how he looks in California every day. He's saying right there, "Would you like to buy some eyeglasses?" You know
what a handsome man.
Right there. That's what he's saying.
Oh, it's the most fun we've had. It's the most fun we've had in some time on
That's
this.
a good looking sweater, Doug. You look good in that cream colored paper knit sweater there.
Michael Kinsell, LOL. That's great, Balky. I'm glad we made some fun tonight on the show. Ferrell, I am fresh out of emails here for Bobby Cannavale, aka Douglas Kahn. Let's go with your final question for the evening for Douglas.
Boy, we had to scold our last week's guest because he gave who'd he give as a sleeper? Gibbs?
Jameer Gibbs. I think that was it. Yeah.
So I'm going to try to answer the question correctly, where a man of your intellect can respond in kind. There is a sleeper that exists out there. We've talked about some of it. As we get later in the year, it becomes more important to find that sleeper. That not everyone is going to start, but they should. And then you've already brought up a couple, but maybe you have more, of guys that you think you're going to pencil in every week, automatic starts, but you're not going to do it this weekend. All right, go.
Okay, first, my sleeper, Noah Brown. He's catching the ball a lot for Washington. And McLaurin's not. So Noah Brown's my sleeper. The one who I'd sit, I've already said Debo. Debo's the guy who. No,
we got to use somebody that you haven't mentioned in the show because we got to keep question number 10 fresh. It's very important.
Okay.
This is my whole reason for being on the show.
Is this number 10?
You've got to go. If you've already burned your guy,
number 10, Douglas. Number 10.
I shot my wad. God, another guy who's going to be disappointing. Lockett.
Yeah.
Lockett's another one. He's fallen off the. I don't know how to say that the right way, but he's not playing well this year either. He's actually available. I saw him available in the league, and I was shocked.
You bring that up, and Ferrell, our mutual friend Dan Williamson, the host of the Fantasy Empire podcast and the Player Profiler podcast network, posted on X this week a guy who has had a tortuous love affair with Tyler Lockett for the last 10 years. He said that in his longest dynasty league, the league he's been in the longest, where he drafted Tyler Lockett as a rookie, for the first time, he released him in said dynasty league for the first time ever. And it was a painful thing for him. It was very painful. It was very painful because this is a guy who loved Tyler Lockett in dynasty, in best ball, in redraft leagues, and he finally cut him loose this week. And I'm kind of with him. That Seattle passing game, it's Metcalf, it's JSN, and that's it. There's nobody else.
Nope. It was a lot of fun. Hey, can I say the best part about FFPC? I love the draft board.
Please.
I'm addicted to the draft boards and analyzing all my drafts now of what I did then. Like this team we're talking about now, I have another championship team too. That's I'm fighting for the playoffs right now this week. It's I'm there. I'm hoping I make it, and I'm hoping Goddard has a big game now that Devontae's not playing. So
he should.
Goddard. Yeah.
Wouldn't you think he should? I mean, who's the other guy in Philly right now that's going to take on those targets? It's not Dotson.
Right.
AJ Brown maybe to a certain extent, Barkley to a certain extent, but I think Goddard is having a big week this week for
Yep.
sure.
It's a big
Yes.
part
me
of the
too.
plan. You know, I'm often disagreeing with Permar, and I never want to be disagreeable with our guest. I've been a really, really big Noah Brown fan over the years, but I have not. We talked about earlier in the show, we don't like the way certain players are looking.
Yeah.
I don't like the way Noah Brown's. I don't like his body language on the field. Quarterback throws to him and hits him in the ankle. You can't catch those. But it's just interesting how you feel and about some players. And who's Washington in the contest with this weekend, Ball?
Dallas. They got the Cowboys.
Yeah, they've got a few things wrong at Dallas, so that might be, and Noah Brown being a former Cowboy. I'm going to side with you, Douglas. I'm going to give the Noah Brown train one more trip. But I think Permar, who claims he's never wrong, just in this case, might be right.
He might be, and
I hope not.
He's posting his reasoning here. But in regards to that,
don't buy in, Balky. Don't go down that road.
Don't go down that road.
Don't
Okay,
go down that road. Just,
right.
you know.
I'm going to leave it up there.
The man does not need a publicist, Balky.
Everybody can make their own decisions here. Everybody can make their own decisions with what Permar said, and everybody can make their own decisions over Douglas Kahn's 15th place team in the Fantasy Pros Championship to see how far it's going to go. Dude, this is exciting. And
I didn't realize that, Balky. Douglas Kahn and Jason Kahn.
Well, it's spelled differently.
Well, it's spelled different. What do you think about that? Well,
I think there's a nice synergy there. And
just another reason to get to Kentucky.
Right, exactly. Yes. Douglas, listen, man, this was a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys.
I know it's exciting seeing your team up at the top of the leaderboard. We are rooting for you here. We're hoping you make a push. We're hoping you have a big week 12 here. And you never know. If you cash that $1 million in the Fantasy Pros Championship, we'll have you back on in about a month on this show for sure. And
I'll take second too. I'll take second. Just for record.
Yes,
I'll be all right.
And I'll see, Ferrell's a talent agent. Maybe we can get both Douglas Kahn and Bobby Cannavale on the same program that evening. We'll see what happens. Be good, dude. Thank you so much for joining us. And good luck the rest of the way, man.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
The lava lover himself, Douglas Kahn, chumming in on tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour with him having the 15th place overall team in the Fantasy Pros.
I think all the listeners are lava lovers. I mean,
I think there are certain guests we have on the show that ring true as everyman guests, and I think over the last month or maybe 3 months, 2 or 3 months, we've had a lot of everyman guests on here that a lot of people are very excited about rooting for, even if they're not in contention anymore in the FFPC or the KFFSC. But certainly Douglas is one of those guys we root for.
You know why I didn't ever draft Blake Corum?
Why is that?
All the pros loved him.
What's funny is, and Ferrell, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I'm pretty sure you do not strike me as a 0 RB type of guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I have done it in several leagues in the KFFSC and other private leagues over the years, and it's paid off in several times. This year, it is not paying off.
If I could play in the KFFSC where you are mandated to start 3 receivers,
right,
I would lean a little bit more into that. And if there was ever a year to be 0 RB, it was this year. You could pick up guys like Najee Harris and Pollard, and you could go on the waiver wire and pick up the Kansas City running back. Who was it? Cleveland.
Kareem Hunt. Are you talking about?
Yeah, I keep trying to call him Lamar Hunt. That's not him. That's Kareem Hunt. Yeah.
Right team.
Right team, right family. But so, you kind of did, but no. I mean, my favorite team that I have this year, 3 of the first 4 picks are Barkley, Taylor, and off his poor Thursday night performance in the FFPC on Friday in the 4th round, I was able to get Derrick Henry, and people then at 4-1 claimed that I was overpaid.
Let me throw this at you here. and I want to get at Permar. We're going to talk about Dylan Lobby in a second, but
Okay.
there is one KFFSC Dynasty team, and I typically, especially this time of year, I'm stacking backup running backs as much as I can, Ferrell. And I think, I'm pretty sure this team made the playoffs. Now, it has Brock Purdy on it, so I can't play, or probably won't be able to play him this week. Or no, I won't be able to play him this
No,
week.
you probably.
But you think of,
100%.
let me tell you the running backs on this team, because this is a team that was built for starting running backs going down and being able to play them in the playoffs, which have started in the KFFC. Here are my running
Writing
backs.
it down.
Zach Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, Rico Dowdle, Cam Akers, Chuba Hubbard, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. Now, this is a bad example because there's a lot of good starting running backs on this team. I screwed that up.
Robinson scores a touchdown every week.
Well, but I mean, look at like the guys on that team, Aaron Jones and Chuba Hubbard and so on and so forth. There's another team, and maybe I want, this is going to be horrible radio, so I'm not,
This is not even radio.
It's not. Here's a good one. This is another KFFSC Dynasty team. Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren, okay, whatever. But then on the bench, Cam Akers, Trey Sermon, Justice Hill, Damian Pierce, Jordan Mason, Emmanuel Wilson. Of all those guys here, Javonte Williams has sort of been a flex guy. Jalen Warren has been hurt most of the year. But then all these other guys, Akers, Aaron Jones has been healthy. Sermon, his time has passed. Justice Hill, you can't play him because Derrick Henry's been healthy all the year. Damian Pierce, same thing with Joe Mixon. Jordan Mason, he had his time, and now it's over with Christian McCaffrey back. I'm not cutting him. Emmanuel Wilson never had the time to develop because Josh Jacobs has been healthy this year. I think if we go and look at a lot of KFFSC and FFPC teams this year, there's a lot of people who went 0 RB that have been very disappointed because a lot of running backs, for whatever reason, have been healthy-ish enough where you haven't been able to deploy these running backs this year.
Yeah, and handcuffs are a proven disaster waiting to happen as far as
dependent upon your investment in them. Like,
well,
if you're
I don't
getting,
know right now. See, on those rounds that you drafted all those running backs, a man like you, Balky, could go in there and drafted a lot of the mixed position players who would be rising to the top right now.
I tend to, and like obviously the way my redraft and my dynasty roster strategy changes between the two formats. But I do think, especially in the KFFSC, where you have to start 3 wide receivers, I want to be as elite as possible and then stumble into the RB2 that can carry me for a week. That just hasn't happened this year. It just has not happened at all. Let's go rapid fire on these emails tonight. God, where are they now? Let's see here.
They're in the computer.
Dan in Chicago, Anthony Richardson or Geno Smith this week. Richardson, who obviously came up with a big-time week last week with the 2 rushing touchdowns. He gets in the end zone with a throwing touchdown. But Geno Smith, Ferrell, he beats the Niners this week, and he has a pretty good matchup this week. Geno Smith going up against the Arizona Cardinals at home. They can be had in the passing game. I don't know which way I'm leaning on this.
You can flip back and forth with this one. If you have Geno Smith on your team, you're a Geno Smith fan. That's what you're going to do. You're going to start Geno Smith.
Smith over Richardson for
you. And if you had Richardson on this team, you drafted him in the 5th round, and you might think that, he rushed for 2 touchdowns last week, I've got to start him. But you've probably been burned a lot by having him. And if you've got Smith on the team, you believe in Smith. So, follow your beliefs. It's really a flip of the coin to me. But that running game at both places is strong, although Taylor had a difficult week last time out. You're going to think long, and you really can't think wrong. They probably score the same way, except scored the same points, except they get there on much different paths.
Okay. So there you go on that quarterback discussion. Before we get to our next running back question, Permar 99, I'm going to throw it up right now. He wants to know our thoughts on Dylan Lobby, who I'm going to throw up my Raiders logo right here, right now. Madison is doubtful. Zamir White is doubtful. It is Amir Abdullah. It is Dylan Lobby this week. Ferrell, your thoughts on deploying Lobby as an FFPC or KFFSC flex this week?
I think Dylan Lobby has had one carry this year where he fumbled. I think you should move on with other players.
Okay, so Lobby and I think Tom Smith is chiming in. Raiders running backs will not do much
That's another thing.
Against the Denver Broncos defense this week too. So there you go there. Let's go to Matt.
You might find more total jet sweeps from Raider receivers than you do actual handoffs.
From Trey Tucker, are we talking about here?
Well, you're talking about Tucker. The hell, they used Jacoby Myers in that role once. Turner, who may or may not be active, but just whoever lines up at the position, that's a play that they. And they may line a wide receiver up at halfback too.
And that's very possible as well. That's a good point. Joe King has to start one of these guys. Sam Laporta against the Colts. Mark Andrews this week, who is taking on and I should know this off the top of my head, and
it's the Harbaugh Bowl.
Oh, Harbaugh Bowl. So he's got the Chargers on Monday Night Football. Jordan Addison for the Vikings, who is in Chicago this week. Which one of those guys, Ferrell, would you start? Let's assume tight end premium scoring here.
The Detroits are a successfully high favorite this week, correct?
Yep. Yes.
I'm going to lean towards Laporta in our system because we have a quarterback last week that was not touched and is in perfect health. They never sacked him. He threw the ball 40-something times, all those yards, never sacked him. I like every Detroit lines, and I'm not going to draw the line and leave Laporta out of it, so I'm going to go Laporta.
Yeah, I think Laporta is interesting because Mark Andrews is dealing with the resurgence of Isaiah Likely, and you have Deontay Johnson another week ingratiated into that Baltimore Ravens offense. So I think there's a lot to just fade there with Andrews. And then Addison is a guy like, who knows what the Vikings offense is capable of. And maybe it's an Aaron Jones week. It's tough to beat the Bears through the air, but you can beat them on the ground. So it could be an Aaron Jones, Cam Akers this week. A Cam Akers, Aaron Jones week this week for the Vikings against the Bears. So I am with you. I think it's Laporta here. That's the guy you deploy. Okay, let's do another question here from Rich on YouTube. Calvin Ridley, Rome Odunze, Tucker Kraft, Keenan Allen possibly hurt Friday too. Yeah, Keenan Allen is not really entering my view as far as playing him this week as a starter. Ridley, Odunze, Kraft. I'm benching Tucker Kraft. The even tight end premium scoring. Tight ends have not had a good run in going against the San Francisco defense over the course of the season with Fred Warner. So I'm benching Kraft. It comes down to Ridley or Odunze. I'm going to lean Ridley here, Ferrell, over Odunze.
It's understandable why you would. Ridley's the clear number one receiver in that offense now, and Levis is coming off a better game. And Ridley has just been peppered with high-quality targets. And he's a veteran receiver that knows how to get open. Odunze, part of the reason the last OC got fired is he couldn't get the ball to Odunze. So that's part of the Bears' plans. But I don't think it's enough to overcome Ridley in the type of game that Tennessee is going to have to play to stay in some type of contention and to chase the Texans.
I'm going to be playing Levis in at least 2, maybe 3 leagues, so take it with a grain of salt when I say Ridley here over Odunze, because I'm hoping that it's Ridley just for my Levis shares, but that's the way I stand on it. And Rich says Ridley is in his lineup.
There's a lot of hopium on this show tonight.
A lot of hopium, a lot of copium, a lot of hopium. And let's go to Matt in Dayville, Oregon. Rico Dowdle or Rashad White in his lineup this week. Now, Rashad White, technically still the lead guy, maybe not the lead guy with Tampa, but they are in New York against a team in the Giants who can be had rushing the football. So I do like Rashad White. However, this week when you look at Rico Dowdle, a guy that is in a situation where he is a 10.5-point underdog in our nation's capital, but he catches passes, Ferrell, for the Cowboys, and Cooper Rush could be checking down to him. When you compare Dowdle this week to Rashad White, where would you land in on this?
I'm going with Rashad White because in this situation, I want to go with the better team and the better players. Dowdle is promising, but I want to count on a running back that's going to get points carrying the ball and not catching the ball. If and I think fantasy players are leaning that way too. Not particularly about these two guys, but if we wanted to get pass catchers and put them in the lineups, Pollard would have been drafted higher. Austin Eckler would have been drafted higher. A lot of these guys would have gone in the draft. I think that what we want to do here is side with White. It's you could be wrong, but you've won more with White than you have on a backup, potentially third string running back. And if you notice Dallas play last week, where we already talked about the quarterback hit 350 yards, some of those passes actually went to Ezekiel Elliott out of the backfield.
That's true. It's a great point. And like, let's put that aside for now. Ferrell, in questions like this, where they are so close, 95% of the time, I always lean towards the better offense. And unequivocally, the better offense right now is Tampa over Dallas, which is why I'd be playing White over Dowdle. As weird as that is, or maybe it's not that weird, but I'm playing White over Dowdle. Let's focus on the receivers here for this next one. It comes from, let's see, John, Winchester, Illinois. He wants to know Romeo Doubs or Xavier Worthy. Romeo Doubs this week at home against the San Francisco 49ers. And then you have Xavier Worthy, who is going up against the Carolina Panthers on the road. It gives me pause, Ferrell, anytime I see a team that is trying to manufacture touches for a player that is just not really involved in the team or involved in the offense. Now, I want to expand on this. There are certain players who obviously have big roles on their teams, and you will see those offensive coordinators, those quarterbacks manufacturing touches for those players.
Yeah.
I am hesitant to play a playmaker on the teams where he is not normally making plays, where they're just manufacturing plays just to get him involved. I don't like that. If he's already involved and you're trying to exploit that more, great. But if he's not involved at all and you're trying to get him involved any which way you can, I want to see more. And that's why I am playing Doubs over Worthy this week. Doubs, a guy that seemingly is involved each and every week for the Packers, doesn't always make the big plays, but the Packers always seeming to trying to get him involved. Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs, it's like 1 out of every 3 or 4 weeks where the Chiefs make a concerted effort to try to get him involved.
I think this is where they go 2 games in a row, Worthy with a touchdown and 64 yards catching. And, through your description there and knowing your encyclopedic knowledge of the Packers, I couldn't necessarily identify which receiver you were talking about.
Doubs. Sorry.
Because
Doubs.
in Dobbs' case, that was a player that he grieved about his lack of activity mid-season, and then they went out and manufactured some things. We're coming off a great Watson week, correct?
Yeah.
Or that was 2 weeks ago.
4 for 150 last week for Watson.
Yeah, and it the ground game there with your running back Jacobs has been impressive. I love Worthy's deep score capabilities, and who wouldn't love the quarterback in Kansas City? And I think he's looking for some games that he can actually air out and kind of cut it loose, and this may be that week. So I'm going to lean Worthy, but Dobbs so well, and the Packers so well, that gives me hesitancy, but I'm still I'm going to go down with playing my Chiefs.
I never like to get involved in this kind of discussion because you never know what kind of underdog you are or what kind of favorite you are, because it's all conjecture. But if you feel like you are a massive underdog this week, then it's Worthy.
Yeah.
If you feel like you have control of the matchup and all you need to do is put up floor type points, then it's Dobbs.
No, see, that's good. But why would you hesitate to get involved in that? Because that's really good advice.
But well, no, I would hesitate to get involved because it's just like it's one person or just a few people's opinion. It's tough to try to figure out how, when you look at
That's
a
why
10 team.
that's why we get to do the show, Balky.
I get that.
You're willing to answer the tough question.
But we are not willing to answer the questions for people who have to look at all 10 players of their lineup. We are not going to analyze 10 players in a lineup and say whether you are a favorite or an underdog in your lineup. You have to kind of figure that out yourself. And once you have a good handle on that, as much as you can, we offer our advice. Worthy is the ceiling player, Dobbs is the floor player in this. Michael Kenzel here, Ferrell. Noah Brown or Devon Vele in his flex in the FFPC this week. We talked about Noah Brown earlier. I would lean towards Devon Vele, but I understand the Noah Brown love here if he wants to go that way.
A lot of Noah Brown going around tonight. I'm going that youth must be served this late in the season. I love the physicality of Vele. He's going up against Raiders that have smaller players in the secondary and inexperienced players in the secondary. I like Vele this week.
Yeah, there you go. So Vele for both of us. Ray C on YouTube. Rashad White or Quentin Johnston in his flex, full PPR here. Ferrell, I as much as it pains me to say this, I think I kind of like Quentin Johnston.
Oh, that's an easy pick. You always want to get a potential big play wide receiver in.
Well, and that's the thing. He's been a touchdown magnet. And I know it's not a sticky stat, but at the same time, Johnston seems to find himself in the end zone more often than not. And so I like him over Rashad White here.
Young players take a while to get it. This player's taking even longer than some of the players in the league. We go back to Dallas. We go back to Tennessee, and we talk about Westbrook Akini. He's been a touchdown magnet. We talk about Vele just had a good game. We have a wonderful situation with Johnson in that the entire league views this as one of the most premium receivers in the league. Vele was a free agent, I think.
He was.
Westbrook Akini was a later round draft pick. This is one of the premium players in all of the draft from 2 years ago, who's finally getting it with a quarterback who is now healthy and an offense that all of a sudden enjoys throwing the ball as much as they do running the ball. And you know what? Baltimore, last time they were in a primetime game, they didn't really defend the pass very well. Put Quentin Johnston in your lineup.
And quite frankly, it wasn't even just prime time. Like Baltimore has had a difficult time defending the pass at 1:00 on Sunday afternoons and 4:25 Sunday afternoons. I'm with you. I think Johnston's the play here. How about this one from Diane Pisciotti? Rico Dowdle, Isaiah Likely, or Westbrook Akine here. This is a tough one. Tight end premium, I would say Likely. Non-tight end premium, full PPR, I think it's Dowdle, and half PPR and non-PPR, I think it's Dowdle. So I would rank them a tight end premium, Likely, Dowdle, Westbrook Akine. Ferrell, how would you rank those guys?
Likely, Westbrook Akine, Dowdle, Likely in the FFPC. Yeah, Likely.
Okay, there you go. Final one we have tonight. It's a tight end question here, and let's see. It is Dallas Goedert, right? Dallas Goedert or Sam Laporta is the question facing one Daryl in, let's see, where is he at? Daryl is in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. So where do you see his lineup going this week? Would you play Dallas Goedert at the Rams on Sunday Night Football, or would you rather play Sam Laporta, who is going up against the Colts in Indianapolis on Sunday afternoon?
I'm going Dallas Goedert against the Rams due to the fact that Smith is out.
Yep.
Due to the fact that the Rams have been very successful offensively lately, and the success that they've had is similar to what's been going on in Detroit. And nobody sacked Stafford last week either. The offensive line is playing very, very well. I expect big points, so Philly's going to have to answer that. They're probably going to try to keep the ball away from the Rams a bit, which would suggest that Barkley and Goddard are heavily involved. So that's why I'm going to go.
Yeah, and Farrell, that is a very detailed explanation, and I'm with you on all of that. If you want to do the TLDR version of this, Devontae Smith is out. Dallas Goedert should be sopping up a lot of those targets, a lot of those receptions. So I think he is the preferred option. Even as good as the Detroit offense has been, it's very, very difficult to pinpoint which week each of these guys is going to go off. Monra St. Brown, what is it? 8 straight games with a touchdown reception. Yeah, you can count on him. But Laporta, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, all these other guys, I don't know when it's going to happen. There is a golden opportunity for Goddard to make it happen on Sunday Night Football against the Rams, and that's why I pick him over Sam Laporta. There is nobody I would pick over my co-host, Ferrell Elliott, to host this show each and every Friday night. Ferrell Elliott, the co-host with the most, the boss of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Ferrell, I didn't bring this up with you. Are you good with doing a Black Friday show 1 week from today, the day after Thanksgiving?
What time's kickoff?
There is a 3:00 game, so it will be. I think it's 3:00 Eastern that day between the Raiders and Chiefs. I want to say. So it will be done by the time we go live at 10 p.m. Eastern.
If 10 p.m. is our kickoff, then I'm all good for it. You know, we've never gone this late, Balky. I've got a phone date with a girl in L.A. Call her and tell her I met Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, Bobby Cannavale joining the show tonight.
With you, but look, I really, there's nothing better than Black Friday football, because you know who's playing on that Black Friday?
It's Raiders Chiefs, right?
Silver and black versus the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Yes, exactly.
Raiders going to have to get some things right before we get there.
And hopefully they will. All I care about is Bowers and Myers. Just keep it going.
Do you want to make that announcement that you've been sitting on all night? Because it's everybody's getting offline. Everybody's leaving.
What announcement should I make? Tell me.
You're going to make the announcement of what your plans are for Super Sunday.
My plan for Super Bowl Sunday is to hang out at Caesars, Southern Indiana, for not only Super Bowl Sunday, but Saturday to be drafting live with the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship all day Saturday, maybe doing some gambling, maybe playing some poker, hanging out Saturday night, and then Sunday more drafting leading up until Super Bowl Sunday, when inevitably we see the Green Bay Packers defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in their bid for a three-peat in the Super Bowl in New Orleans on Sunday evening. That is my plans for Super Bowl Sunday weekend, Ferrell.
That's a beautiful plan. I think everybody else, because there's a lot of Balkaholics that like doing Balkaholic things. So this is really a great public service situation.
So for anybody who wants to do that, KFFSC.com is where to go and register, right?
Yes, sir. KFFSC.com is exactly what you want to do.
Plenty of action going on there, not only main events, but everything going on with the Super Sunday drafts starting the weekend of Super Bowl Sunday, which is coming up in February. KFFSC.com. Check it out. Ferrell Elliott joining me on the show tonight. Ferrell, thank you so much. Let's do this again a week from today, after the Raiders and Chiefs have had their way with each other, and we'll have another game to break down that evening.
Thank you, sir.
That is Ferrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen. My co-host tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. KFFSC.com is where to go to register and sign up for the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship drafts going on as early as Super Bowl weekend. This upcoming, what is it? We're about 2 months away. Not even 2 months away, right? A little over 2 months away from that, which I can tell you, for all the Super Sunday drafts that are open, they are already more than 1/3 full. KFFSC.com is where to register for those. Wow, what a show tonight. Holy cow, we're going to get to like 90 minutes tonight, and I do apologize. I want to thank all our guests here tonight. Doug Kahn, who came on the show tonight, Ferrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and of course, each and every one of you for hopping aboard. We will be back next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Bear in mind that we will have 3 Thanksgiving Day games to break down. I'll be at the Packers-Dolphins game, so I'll have a big time not sideline view or whatever, but in the stands view of that game. I'm going to the next 2 Packers games. So Sunday afternoon, Packers Niners, I'll be there. Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, I'll be there for Dolphins Packers as well, which is, I'll just share this right now. My son, who is 11 years old, this will be his 3rd Packers game, and his first 3 Packers games were Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and now Thanksgiving night. So something pretty cool that I'm sure he'll be able to share with his kids someday. I'm very excited to spend Thanksgiving night watching the Packers and Dolphins with him. We will be back next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. In case you missed the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown with 13-time FFPC League champion Harley Copen, you can watch that on all the FFPC socials, YouTube, Facebook, X. Right now, the Lowdown will return Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. We're still doing a show that day. And you can watch last night's High Stakes Fantasy Football show on the Better Sports Network with Establish the Runs John Daigle. A lot of good stuff from him last night. Watch that on the Better Sports Network, bettersportsnetwork.com, betternetwork.com. All their socials, as well as all of the FFPC socials as well. We will be back on the High Stakes Fantasy Football show, this coming Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Football guys, Dave Kluge will join me for a full 2 hours. We are going to break down all the Thanksgiving Day games, as well as the Black Friday game and much more as you get set for the FFPC playoffs. Play the FFPC Weekly Challenge. No draft, no salary cap. Just choose 10 or 12 players if you want to play with kickers and defenses. Over at myffpc.com, watch them ride throughout the weekend's games. 1 player per NFL team. You can't double up. If you want Jordan Love, you can't have Jaden Reed. If you want Bo Nix, you can't have Cortland Sutton. And if you want, what's another good example this week? You want Jalen Hurts, you can't have A.J. Brown. $35 to enter or $200 to enter. You can win up to $2,500. Just go to myffpc.com. Myffpc.com is where to register for that. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, for this extended version of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. For Ferrell Elliott and for Douglas Kahn, I'm Eric Balkman. We'll be back with you on Tuesday. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
I think I mentioned this on the show. Maybe if I didn't, I do apologize for that. We have 6 teams on bye this week. And I know if your team is middle of the way and maybe not in contention, or maybe it's going to take a lot of breaks to fall your way to make the playoffs, don't anger the fantasy gods. Make sure you are submitting a full lineup this week. Quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, tight end, 2 flexes, kicker, and defense. You never know when this could pay off down the road, where you are going up against somebody, or maybe you need somebody else to submit a full lineup where they're not giving up on the season and try to eliminate somebody that you need eliminated from the playoffs. It's all about keeping the fantasy gods happy. So make sure you are submitting a full fantasy lineup. Make sure that you have all your bases covered in case of injuries that would disrupt you from doing that this upcoming week. The waiver wire run will go on at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning. There is still plenty of time to get your roster changes in. Please do so. Public service announcement from Balky. Good luck. Hopefully the ball bounces your way. And you never know. Maybe this will be the decision that carries you on to $1 million grand prize in both the Fantasy Pros Championship and the FFPC Main Event. Be good, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk with you again on Tuesday night.